All done. All silent. Going. Gone. So congratulations.
Welcome to the Current Market Insights podcast, brought to you by Harris Partners Real Estate. Each episode, we chat with real estate author and industry leader Peter O'Malley to discuss the current property market conditions and provide insights to assist you on your property journey.
Welcome to Current Market Insights. I'm your host, Ciaran, here with Peter O'Malley from Harris Partners. Welcome, Peter.
Yeah, thanks, Ciaran.
Peter, look, it's winter time. It's starting to get cold outside. Real estate, though, continues charging forward, as we've seen. I'm interested, we have talked about before, most people or lots of properties come to market in the sort of April cycle or, after Australia Day earlier in the year. And you've talked about at length how many come to market in the spring. I'm interested to get your thoughts on what is different about someone looking to sell throughout the winter period.
Ciaran, I think the first thing to keep in mind is that, yes, your garden and your property will probably present better in spring than it will in winter. But presenting better and selling for a better price are different events. So what we often see is too much stock comes to market in spring, and the vendors in spring compete against each other, and the equation between seller supply and buyer demand works a little bit more in the buyer's favour. During winter, we find that stock levels are very tight, as they are now. We're essentially, in the inner west, we're running at near Christmas level stock levels.
As in, December, January period?
That's right. Stock is not normally, even for winter, stock is incredibly tight in the inner west and across Sydney at the moment. So what we're seeing that seller supply is not meeting buyer demand in the marketplace, giving vendors the advantage. And I always say to people that the economics of the day trump the season of the day. And if interest rates continue to go up, at some stage they will take the edge off this bounce that property prices have experienced in the last 3 to 4 months. And if interest rates continue to go up at a time where stock levels suddenly expand in spring, the window of opportunity that exists at the moment for vendors to get sold for a very good price closes. So that's the big consideration, I think, in 2023 for vendors or prospective vendors about going to the market immediately, v. holding off till the spring.
So you mentioned the window of opportunity, and you mentioned quite specifically 2023. Is this window a bit of a unique circumstance in the sense that we have got rising interest rates, we have got, abnormally low stock levels? Is this a bit of a not a perfect storm, but I guess a conglomerate of factors that are leading to a potential boon for any seller in this period?
Well, I just think that it's an unexpected development that after 12 interest rate rises, the Sydney property market, both for apartments and houses, is rising. It seems to be rising in spite of logic, and a vendor needs to ask themselves, how long can this be sustained whilst rates are going up and doing the damage to the underlying economy that they definitely are doing.
You mentioned lower stock on the market and abnormally so at this time of the year for 2023. And you mentioned that is good for vendors. Are there any expectations that a potential seller should have regarding things like price or days on market or just the general run of the campaign in winter or even this winter compared with, say, a normal spring campaign?
I think that's a statistical reality with real estate sales that the best prices come early in a campaign. The maximum interest that will exist in a property is when it first comes to market. So that's where you want to ensure that you've got accurate pricing and an agent that can identify the right emotional buyer for your property early in the campaign. When I first started selling real estate, Ciaran, vendors would come into the marketplace with a 3-month mindset. Agents would all demand a 90-day agency agreement. Unless it's a difficult property or a difficult market, you shouldn't be giving your property to anyone for 90 days or even 120 days. A lot of agents will say that it's a 30-day auction campaign and 90 days exclusivity after the auction if it doesn't sell at the auction. Well, if we're doing a 30-day auction campaign, why do you need it for 90 days afterwards? So it's a reality that the best, on the whole, the best prices for vendors are achieved inside a month. in this environment.
Definitely sounds counterintuitive to need 120 days if, as you say, the best buyers do present early in the campaign, potentially in the first couple of weeks.
And the internet made real estate as close to instant, selling real estate as close to instant as it's ever going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. You've mentioned, and I'm thinking here about presenting a property in the winter period. You mentioned things like the garden may not look as nice. The lighting's not going to be what you might imagine from a magazine, for example. Are there any changes that you can think of or that, people should be aware of in terms of their marketing or property presentation that are unique to a winter campaign that you wouldn't necessarily have to deal with in spring or summer?
I think the major one is just making sure that your home's not cold. So, you don't need to dial the temperature up so that it's a semi-sauna, but certainly have it to the degree that it's a comfortable, cozy home. So oil heaters, gas heaters, things that just add ambient warmth to the home is the primary one. You would like to think that you're not going to have too much rain during your open inspections. 2022 was a terrible year for rain. That wasn't through winter. That was really from February 2022 for the next 6 months. It felt like it rained every Saturday.
Had a seven-day cycle on the rain, I think.
Yeah, that was a tough year. But I think having warmth in your home is the big one when it comes to winter selling.
Look, I'm thinking from the perspective of a seller here, are there any, changes to the questions they might need to ask a potential agent or someone who's come out to do an appraisal that may just give some insight into whether or not they're going to be the best fit for them in a winter campaign?
Well, we've got to keep an eye on how I think the market is tracking, Ciaran. So at the time of recording, the RBA have just increased interest rates again for June 2023. How will the market absorb that rate rise, the 12th in a row, over the next few months? If there's signs that the market has taken it badly, maybe sellers really do want to take the view that the window of opportunity to capitalise on rising prices is closing and rush to market during winter. If conversely the market continues to push up in price, showing no signs of any ill effect from the rate rise, maybe an agent will advise their client that holding off the campaign until spring is a calculated risk and worth doing and riding this rising market as high as it can go. I don't mind saying I, for one, did not expect Sydney property prices to rise 5% in the last quarter, but that's what's happened, so I'm not arguing with it. We've all got an opinion or a forecast about what property markets will do, but they end up doing what they do.
They absolutely do. So I guess, like always, the best thing a potential seller can do is make sure they ensure their agent is doing the research, but also do their own. Look, I'm interested to know if one, someone listening right now says, I want to proceed with this window of opportunity and get moving on a campaign. Realistically, when do they need to make this happen?
Well, you need to ask yourself, will the RBA increase rates again, and when are they likely to do so? And let that dictate your timing. Getting tradespeople, if you do need to do some preparatory work to your home, getting tradespeople is not straightforward. It does involve timelines and availability of those tradespeople. So I think you, as a prospective vendor, you get working on it straight away. The agent that you elect to sell with should have good relationships with people that they can call in favours on, or escalate your job to the top of the queue to get you to the market sooner, if that's what you choose to do.
Yeah, so again, comes back to a great relationship with the agent that you decide to work with. Look, before we wrap up today, Peter, any final thoughts on winter sales campaign, your experience with them in general?
Yeah, look, by August, the weather has begun to turn a little bit warmer in Sydney, and the marketplace has usually by late August been starved of stock over the sort of autumn and winter, the majority of winter, from basically Easter to late August. So if you are finding yourself wanting to sell in spring, I'd encourage you to, at the very least, bring that campaign forward so that you're on the market in late winter and you're one of the first spring campaigns to the market, and hopefully, appealing to buyers that have been starved of opportunities over a period of what has been really, really low stock levels for home buyers.
Yeah, there's nothing creates a frenzy more than being the only house for sale in the suburb. Look, thanks for joining me as always, Peter. Thanks for an excellent episode, and I look forward to talking to you next time.
Yeah, thanks, Ciaran.
Thanks for joining us on the Current Market Insights podcast, brought to you by Harris Partners Real Estate, the podcast providing real estate insights you won't find anywhere else.